Okay. Good evening and welcome to the April 14th, 2026 meeting of the East Long Meadow Town Council. I'll call the meeting to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would ask that we take a brief moment of silence to reflect on all of the events going on, both here and abroad. Thank you. In accordance with Mass General Law, this meeting is being recorded by LCAT, and if there's anyone else in the audience recording, if you could identify yourself. Thank you, Cindy. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, public comments. This is the opportunity where members of the public can address the council on any matter you wish to speak about. You have 3 minutes to address us. If you could come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours. Thank you.
I'm a little nervous. I've never done this, so I wrote it all down. That's okay.
Sure.
I read most of it. I'm Jessica Park, and I live at 21 Dearborn Street in East Long Meadow. Good evening, members of the council. My name's Jessica Park, and I'm a resident of East Long Meadow. I have 3 children, ages 4 to 13, and I'm here tonight to speak up for them. I'm here to talk about something that may seem simple on the surface, but in reality plays a vital role in the health, connection, and identity of our community. It's Heritage Park. For many residents, the park is more than just a piece of land. Where families gather on the weekends, where sports and community events take place, where neighbors meet and build relationships, and where people of all ages go to find a moment of peace. It's one of the few shared spaces that truly belongs to everyone. But as important as this space is, it's clear that it needs attention. Over time, wear and tear have taken their toll. Equipment is aging, maintenance is inconsistent, and certain areas no longer feel as safe or as welcoming as they should. These issues seem gradual, but the impact is immediate for those who use the park on a regular basis. I understand that there is a long-term plan proposed to rebuild and significantly upgrade the park in the future. However, waiting 3 to 5 years for those improvements is simply too long for our children. Our residents are using the park now. Our children are playing there now. Families are gathering there now, and all 3 of my children use this park on a regular basis right now. The need for repairs and regular maintenance is not something that we can put on hold without having consequences. The current safety risks are very evident. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about safety, accessibility, and preserving a space that contributes to the well-being of our entire community. I also want to emphasize that this request is not being made without the willingness to help. There are many residents, myself included, who are willing to step up to support the town in making these improvements happen sooner. We're willing to help organize community fundraisers, to apply for grants, to rally local volunteers and businesses to contribute. There's real energy and commitment within the community. We just need the opportunity to channel it effectively. What we're asking for tonight is the commitment to prioritize immediate ongoing repairs and maintenance, even as a long-term plan continues to develop. Small, consistent investments now can make a significant difference in preserving the park and ensuring it remains safe and a welcoming place for everyone. Our town park is not just a space. It's a reflection of how we care for our community and for each other. It's how we invest in the rising generation. Let's not allow it to fall into disrepair while we wait for a future solution. Let's take action now. What we need to know is, how do we get this ball rolling? What do we as local citizens need to do to help take initiative and to get this initiative to take off and to be supported by the city? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Open.
Thank you.
Good job.
I knew I wouldn't be able to speak it, so I had to write.
Just a quick, I know we usually don't address, but I would love to hear from you, like a list of what you think, what order.
Can I come back up? Is that
Yes.
I feel like I could just talk to you about it if I come back up. Sorry. Of what?
There are certain things that you feel as though need to be addressed right now. Bark mulch around the play areas.
Yeah, so mulch helps significantly. It reduces the mud. Like, most of the kids won't use the swings when they're covered in mud. It just won't happen. It's also a tripping hazard for those younger children when there's large ravines in the ground. They're trying to run across the park and they're new little walkers, and there's a ravine where the water has run through because the mulch hasn't been replaced. So there's tripping hazards there. The slide has obviously been been disconnected for over a year now. So right now it's just covered with a piece of plywood, which has been weathered and worn and hasn't been taken care of. All it would take is for some teenager or young adult or someone to go up and kick the plywood and it would fall straight out. Like it's not significantly secured. There's a major safety hazard there, as well as unfinished plywood. All it takes is a kid to reach over the edge to scrape their arm on the unfinished plywood. So the slide is a major concern, as well as the swings. The metal that attaches from the ropes that hang down onto the swing is splitting open and rusted. So when you sit down, a little kid's hips don't really touch that area. They hold onto the sides. But a lot of little kids that don't know how to swing yet will swing on their tummies. And they'll slide their little arms through and they'll kick themselves forward. And that arm goes right past that swing. And this piece was brought to my attention, and a friend of mine that's with me as attention, because I was pushing my kid. And as I put her up on the swing, I cut my hand open. So I looked at the swing and was like, oh my gosh, this one's broken. So we looked at another one. She's like, well, this one's also broken. And so those are the like major safety hazards, right? But those things will continue to happen. So what I really want for the like more than just the immediate needs of those safety hazards is to address how do we fund the ongoing repairs and upgrades that will come. It's our only town park. It has to be cared for. And my kids will outgrow that park. And if there's nothing in place, then another mom has to step in and start from square one and say, hey, we need to address the ongoing. And we just start over and over with someone new. When I talk to someone else, she's like, well, I tried to make some efforts and in looking at grants or things like that. And then her kids moved on and she never finished anything, you know? And so implementing something that will last beyond an individual or a group of individuals as our kids age that stays with the community. So.
Great.
So, no, I'm sorry. No. Let's keep the pecking order in order here, okay?
Actually, if I may, I'm going to address this sort of in this corner of the room between John and Ralph. When we replaced all of the playscapes at the elementary schools, did CPC get involved in that at all?
Yes, they were funded by CPC.
Okay.
But that covered, the.
So there is a possibility that if it was deemed
Yes.
appropriate, that CPC funds could, you're shaking your head no?
No.
Why not? I'm sorry.
No, if I may.
Yes,
As
join the
chair-
conversation.
As chair of the Community Preservation Commission, the park originally did not utilize community preservation funding for the beginning of the process to construct the playscape that currently is there. Therefore, it is not eligible under grandfather clauses that deem it ineligible because it wasn't originally built with community preservation money.
So all the schools had previously been built by,
Because that was the first time that community preservation money had been used to construct the one at Meadowbrook, for instance.
So those were brand new. So
So those are brand new.
was done maybe,
This was done a long time ago with,
this was done by a volunteer group.
right.
Right,
So-
under a foundation that was established, I
But
understand.
community preservation money is not available because of like I said, the initial project wasn't funded by community preservation funding.
I'm not talking about maintenance, I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I'm talking-
replacing the whole.
Right. And that's why it's not eligible.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay.
Try.
But no, it's like, I'm like, I don't even know these processes, yeah.
I do have a number of things, but before we get to maybe answering any of it, I would just want to see if there's anyone else in the audience that wants to make a comment, and we can try to address
Okay.
the feedback at the end.
The comment I would say is kudos to you for taking initiative and driving this forward, because without that kind of community support, this project would not.
Thank you. We actually had a lot of traction. We posted on Facebook and talked to some scout groups and things.
how we saw it.
And it is, it's, the hardest part is that as mothers, and this was the comment from multiple people, is they didn't have childcare. And I was like, you can bring your little ones, but they don't want to be disruptive, right? It's hard for mothers a lot of times to make it to these sort of meetings, you know, luckily we teamed up and one husband watched a couple of our kids and I brought a kid with me, but that is hard for moms to show up in these sort of events with little kids. There is a lot of energy and people willing to support, you know, from the community.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to make a comment?
Just say that the park is busy every time I go there. It's really
Yeah,
Mind,
come up.
just the park is very well used. It's busy every time we go there. There's not a lot of options around, and especially the Bliss Road
Yeah.
Park in Longmeadow is under construction right now, so there's really no place to go. except Heritage Park. And so we bring kids there, and then it's a little
Yeah.
hard to play there sometimes.
Need to ask your name.
Yeah, would you mind your name and,
Oh, I'm Robin Haney. I live at 48 Edmund Street in East Long Meadow.
thank you. Anyone else?
Tom wanted to say something. I've never been to one of these.
I'm sure of how this goes, but we're learning. Hi.
Actually, kind of nice.
Yeah.
My
Say your name, yeah.
My name's Erica. I live at 6 Athens in East Long Meadow, Athens Street. My kids are between the ages of 11 and 4. And did I say that there's 3 of them?
Yeah.
3 girls. And we love that playground. We love walking in through the wooded area. We love walking around the pond. I got so happy this morning when I walked by, when we drove by and the fountain was on. That was so exciting.
Nice to hear.
Particularly for my toddler, she likes seeing the birds and the wildlife. And before we enrolled her and my kids in school, part of our homeschooling ritual would be, or routine would be to go to the playground and observe what was around us in the environment. And folks I was mentioning to some of us that showed up, I remembered about Chip Drop. I don't know if you know about Chip Drop. It is chipdrop.com, I think it is, where landscapers would come and like mulch up trees, like they pull them up from the ground, or they chop off the branches, pull them up from the ground, throw them in the machine that just, it's like a paper shredder for trees. And for anyone can either go on the website for Chip Drop and order, or it says order, but it's free. A Chip Drop, so like a truck full of wood mulch. And I don't, like I said, this is my first time here. This is my first time with anything in regards to something like this. If wood chips are a budget issue, I would imagine that if we contacted Chip Drop, and although they would appreciate like a tip, but it's not mandatory. It is a free service. A couple Chip Drops would fill that playground ground and cushion it up.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that is in the audience that wants to make a comment?
I mean, I feel like we're doing a line.
Yeah,
You showed up, so you should have heard. You should have.
A little nervous too.
I know.
I'm Sam Stewart. I live at 30 Bain in East Long Meadow, obviously. I just came to support Jessica, but I do know I go to a group walk of moms, and I told them I was coming to this to show support, and everyone was very excited and said that they know this park is in disarray. This is across towns. A lot of different moms from different groups from different towns are all aware that this park needs some work. So I feel like I'm bringing that voice. A lot of people in the community know that it's a great park if it was just taken care of. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
I forgot to mention that we do still enjoy the park.
Yes.
My kids went to school, because we still do go. I just wanted to throw that out there too.
Anyone else? Okay, normally the public comment, we don't do question and answer back and forth, but I think we do have some answers and some things that we can discuss related to this. First, I mean, thank you all for coming and making a comment this evening. It's important for us to get that sort of feedback. I mean, most of us aren't at the park ourselves every day to see these sorts of issues firsthand. And in terms of like accessibility, coming to a meeting and stuff as well, I know that can be difficult, so if you ever have any comments or feedback, please, we all have email addresses with the town. It's on the town website, so you can reach out to any of us and we'll definitely get back to you.
Awesome.
Then in terms of the actual park stuff, I know Tom had a couple updates on those
Yes.
topics.
I do. Hi.
Hello.
Great job, our first timers. Everybody did great. Jessica, did you talk with Donna?
I did. So I know that there are some things potentially rolling for the immediate safety needs.
Yes.
And so she's like, that is great, but there's no plan beyond that of how to continue to
So
address
let's-
those safety needs, and
Let's keep that line of communication open, and why don't the three of us meet at some point
that would be great.
to discuss what we do moving forward?
Okay,
I don't want to make excuses. We had a long winter. We haven't gotten to the park yet.
yeah,
We just haven't. We just ordered the swings and the wood chips
awesome.
and the slide.
Yay, that's so good to hear.
All right, so I don't know what the lead time is on any of those items. I'm guessing the swings are on Amazon, probably on a truck already.
Right,
But we intend to be out there soon to get it ready for the spring.
Cool.
It was a long winter, we're a little behind.
makes sense.
So apologies to the community. But we will make those immediate repairs as soon as possible.
Great,
And then let's set up a meeting with me, you, and Donna, and whoever else you want to
absolutely.
figure out what that looks like moving forward.
Going forward, great, we would love that. We're willing to get involved and raise funds or apply for grants or
Appreciate it.
things that, we just don't know how to do that. Like,
I know.
I don't know what this process is, so,
We welcome that attitude to want to get involved. We'll make it happen.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think from our side, when we sort of first heard about the topic come up, I had discussed with Tom as well, and as you had mentioned, there is a larger plan for Heritage Park to redevelop it and do some new things and also renovate existing parts of it. We had previously put that project on hold because that whole section of North Main Street corridor is going to be redone, and we didn't want two big projects conflicting with each other at the same time and maybe undoing some of the work that was going to happen in the other. But I did challenge Tom to see if there were ways that maybe the park project could be split up into a couple different phases, and maybe the most immediate needs could be done sooner rather than waiting, 5 years from now. So more to come, I'm sure. Of
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for being willing to address it and consider changing plans and
course.
see those needs, so we appreciate that very much. Awesome, I'll get in contact, I'll send you an email and I'll get Donna's contact and we'll get together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you all.
So just on the same note, we did, I don't know if it was in the fall, I don't remember the exact meeting, but we had approved for the fencing at ball fields and stuff.
Right.
And I noticed it hasn't been started yet. It's probably because of the winter. And I'm sure that'll be getting underway also. So hopefully there's going to be quite a few things being.
Sign that
done.
contract today. They'll be out there tomorrow.
Perfect update.
Perfect answers.
Okay, I see no one else with any more public comments. Council comments. Are there any counselors this evening?
Just have one, and I know it's not on the agenda. It was just a quick update on the bylaw committee.
Yes.
We've gone through all of the general bylaws. I have received, we had one chapter left that I asked the health department to help me with. She's given me all the updates. I'll be getting those out, and I will be asking you to get that onto the agenda pretty soon, because we've been at that a whole year, so.
It's crazy to think
But
that
I'm
that went
looking
by.
forwards to it and closing that portion of the bylaws so that we can get on to the next portion,
Great.
5-year portion.
Great job.
Thank you for the update, Ralph. Any
Just a
other comments?
quick comment.
Sure.
I wasn't able to go to the FOC meeting yesterday, but I watched on Zoom. Kim Collins, the level of specificity and detail and knowledge in terms of the ins and outs of that budget, I mean, she really should be commended. The level of transparency and just overall the ins and outs, and we were really lucky to have her. And I
Agree.
I just wanted to point.
100% agree.
Absolutely. She really is phenomenal. So the town is lucky to have her.
Oh, I agree with that. And that's not a knock against people that have previously held the position, but it's just next, the information and format that we have. Great. Any other comments? Seeing none, town manager report. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Good luck following this.
I know, huh? Jeepers. So good evening, everybody. Attached, you'll find the project reports for the weeks of March 16th, 23rd, and 30th for the construction of the high school and auditorium. It's obviously every week is just looking more and more like a finished building, and we're starting to get excited now. To the point that we're already in our relocation plan. We just entered into, or about to enter into a lease agreement with Carter Monday, the relocation of central office and LCAT, so that they can begin the abatement and demolition of that wing of the building. They're gonna be there, the April 21st, and they'll be there for about 4 months until they're ready to move into the new school. So, really exciting to see all the moving parts and how close we're getting to the finish line here. And you can, again, the reminder to all the updates on the project, eastlongmeadowma.gov, ELHS building project. Jamie has another walkthrough video on the website, phenomenal. And I didn't write it in here, but Saturday, they had an open house at the old high school. I guess they had a tremendous turnout. People came from all over to walk through their old high school one more time, and that's pretty cool. This week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Held annually during the second week of April, honors our unsung heroes of public safety, the 911 dispatchers and telecommunicators. I want to just take a moment to recognize and say thank you to the dedication, service, and sacrifice of telecommunications personnel who serve 24/7, serving as the first point of contact in moments of crisis. And obviously for us, a special thanks to our friends over at Westcom. I'll try to get over there at some point this week to rub some shoulders and say thanks. The 2025 Town Annual Report was published and available online. It's under the Government tab of the homepage. There are some hard copies available at the manager's office and the clerk's office. We tried not to print too many. So thanks to everybody who contributed. Obviously, it's a Herculean effort to get all that information together. And thank you to the assistant to the town manager, Deb House, who does an amazing job putting this all together every year. And again, I think I make the joke every year, but the only person she has to wait for to submit is the town manager. But so thank you to that. Thank you to Deb. We did some energy audits at the library town hall and the new town hall this week. I guess it was last week. With an energy manager, NV5. The work was performed as part of the Mass Save and EECBG grants secured by PVPC with the support of East Long Meadow and other surrounding communities. Energy audits were performed at the elementary schools last fall. They're also working through feasibility of a vehicle fleet electrification plan. I'm excited to announce the newly created Town of East Long Meadow Municipal Internship Program has been posted to the website. We've been talking about this for a while, about sort of getting a pipeline of new municipal workers. It's not the most popular of career opportunities working for a municipality, but you know, the public service is a personal calling, and I think you'll find a lot of people have that calling. You have it, you're here. So the program's sort of structured and project-based, designed to provide meaningful educational experience for high school and college students. We've been working on this, like I said, for a few months now, and so we're excited to see who we get for applications and show off what we do. Kim and I attended a financial policy workshop this morning, actually, hosted by the Department of Revenue's Division of Local Services at the Palmer Police Station. We had a bunch of other officials from surrounding communities to develop and hone financial policies that promote sound, consistent fiscal planning and effective financial management. The aforementioned Kim Collins has already really got us way ahead of the 8 ball here, but we're constantly trying to get better. We have to keep changing our plans and changing our thinking with a changing world. So we keep trying to hone our skills in that regard. Not on the list again. I got an email shortly before I came here this evening. The contracts have been signed by the state. So we're just waiting for a schedule for the pavement on Summers Road and Prospect Street. So here's hoping that's this calendar year. I have an upcoming event on here, the planning board, Tuesday, April 21st, 6 PM at this building. I bring it up, one of the items on their agenda is the framework of the Centertown District bylaw discussion. And I would really like to keep that momentum going and continue the conversation. So if anybody's interested, they'll be talking about that, I would assume, for quite some time on next Tuesday night. And that's all I have for tonight, and answer any questions that you may have.
I'd like to make a comment about the reunion on April 11th. I went out with my family for dinner that evening, and most of them were there. And they made comments like, it looked like this when I was here, how many years ago? However, what was so exciting was the meetup of so many folks that haven't seen each other for a very long time.
Yep.
And it was one reunion after another, and it was an incredible opportunity, and they talked and talked and talked about it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that was probably a decision that was made by the school department. So Greg, thank you very much.
700 people to it.
How many people?
700,
Amazing.
wow, that is amazing.
Graduates, yep.
So, job well done.
Yeah, great job.
Great. Any comments or questions for Tom? Okay, seeing none. I don't have anything for communications, correspondence, and announcements, so we'll move to public hearings. We are past our 6:15 time slot, so this is a public hearing for a required second reading for a proposed new bylaw, Chapter 328, Right to Farm. The council members from left to right are Jim Lyden, Kathy Hill, myself, Connor O'Shea, Marilyn Richards, Ralph Page, and John Torsia. And I would ask the clerk to read the legal notice into the record.
Okay, the East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on April 14th, 2026 at 6:15 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street for the purpose of addressing a proposed new bylaw, Chapter 328 Right to Farm. The purpose of this bylaw is to make East Long Meadow a right to farm community. The public hearing may also be attended via Zoom webinar. Information relating to this bylaw is available for public inspection at the town clerk's office, 60 Center Square, and on the website. For the council, Jackie Sullivan, town clerk, clerk of the council.
Nice.
Thank you, Jackie.
Well done.
At this point now, I would ask Councilor Page, who presented the bylaw, to give an updated status on.
So do you want me to do the second reading and then go over suggested changes by the subcommittee?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sit back and relax.
You just realized you volunteered.
That's okay. Chapter 328, Right to Farm, subsection 328-1, legislative purpose and intent. In East Long Meadow, where farming is an essential part of the town's history, farming continues to be a necessary and desirable activity that provides food, clean air, economic diversity, local employment, cultural and recreational activities, and open space for all citizens of our community. The purpose and intent of this bylaw is to state with emphasis the right to farm accorded to all citizens of the Commonwealth under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution and all state statutes and regulations thereunder, including but not limited to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 3, Paragraph 1, Chapter 90, Section 9, Chapter 111, Section 125A, and Chapter 128, Section 1A. We, the citizens of East Long Meadow, restate and republish these rights pursuant to the town's authority conferred by Article 89 of the Articles of Amendment of the Massachusetts Constitution, Home Rule Amendment. This general bylaw encourages the pursuit of agriculture, promotes agricultural-based economic and employment opportunities, and promotes farmlands within East Long Meadow by allowing agricultural uses and related activities to function with minimal conflict with abutters and town agencies. This bylaw shall apply to all jurisdictional areas within East Long Meadow. Subsection 328-2, farming activities, agriculture or agricultural activities. The word farm shall include any parcel or contiguous parcels of land or water bodies used for the primary purpose of agriculture. The words farming or agriculture or their derivatives shall include, but not be limited to, the following: farming in all its branches in the cultivation and tillage of soil, dairying, production, cultivation, growing, and harvesting of any agriculture, aquaculture, floriculture, viticulture, or horticultural commodities, growing and harvesting of forest products upon forest land, and any other forestry or lumbering operations, raising livestock, including horses, keeping horses as commercial enterprise, keeping and raising of poultry, swine, cattle, rabbits, such as emus, ostriches, and rays, and camelids, such as llamas and camels, and other domesticated animals for food and other agricultural purposes, including bees and fur-bearing animals. Farming shall encompass activities including, but not limited to, the following: operation and transportation of slow-moving farm equipment over roads within the town, control of pests, including but not limited to insects, weeds, predators, and disease organism of plants and animals, application of manure, fertilizer, and pesticides, conducting agricultural-related educational and farm-based recreational activities, including agritourism, processing and packaging of the agricultural output of the farm and the operation of a farmer's market or farm stand, including signage thereto, maintenance, repair, or storage of seasonal equipment or apparatus owned or leased by the farm owner or manager used expressly for the purpose of propagation, processing, management, or sale of agricultural products. On-farm relocation of earth and the clearing of ground for farming operations. Construction and use of farm structures and facilities for the storage of animals waste, farm equipment, pesticides, fertilizers, agricultural products, and livestock for the, did I read that right? For the process of animal waste and agricultural products, for agritourism, for the sale of agricultural products, and for the use of farm labor as permitted by local and state building codes and regulations, including construction and maintenance of fences. Subsection 328-3, right to farm declaration. The right to farm is hereby recognized to exist within the town of East Long Meadow. The above described agricultural activities may occur on holidays, weekdays, and weekends by night or day, and shall include the attendant incidental noise, odors, dust, and fumes associated with normally accepted agricultural practices. It is hereby determined that whatever impact may be caused to others through the normal practice of agriculture is more than offset by the benefits of farming to the neighborhood, community, and society in general. The benefits and protections of this bylaw are intended to apply exclusively to those agricultural and farming operations and activities conducted in accordance with generally accepted agricultural practices. Moreover, nothing in this right to farm bylaw shall be deemed as acquiring any interest in land or imposing any land use regulation which is properly the subject of state statute, regulation, or local zoning bylaw. Subsection 328-4, disclosure notification to real estate buyers. To allow prospective purchasers to make informed decisions prior to a real estate transaction and to promote harmony between farmers and their neighbors after a transaction, the town of East Long Meadow requests selling landlords and/or their agents and assigns provide written notice to prospective purchasers substantially as follows. It is the policy of the town of East Long Meadow to conserve, protect, and encourage the maintenance and improvement of agricultural land for the protection of food and other agricultural products, and for its natural and ecological value. This disclosure notification is to inform buyers that the property they are about to acquire lies within a town where farming activities occur. Such farming activities may include, but are not limited to, activities that cause noise, dust, and odors. Purchasing and henceforth occupying land within East Longmeadow means that one should expect and accept conditions as a normal and necessary aspect of living in East Longmeadow. Written notification may occur in one of several ways, including but not limited to a disclosure form, addendum to a purchase and sale agreement, and should include an acknowledgement by the buyer that they have received such notification. Subsection 328-5, resolution of disputes. Any person who seeks to complain about the operation of a farm may, notwithstanding pursuing any other available remedy, file a grievance with the zoning enforcement officer, the Board of Health, or the town manager, depending upon the nature of the grievance. The filing of the grievance does not suspend the time within which to pursue any other available remedies that the aggrieved may have. Subsection 328-6, severability clause. If any part of this bylaw is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the remainder of this bylaw. The town of East Longmeadow hereby declares the provisions of this bylaw to be severable.
Thank you, Ralph.
You're welcome. So that is how I had originally presented this. A few meetings ago, we had sent this to our general bylaw review committee, subcommittee, and they have made a couple suggestions. So in subsection 328-1, in the heading, they suggest that we remove the period at the very end. So after intent, remove the period. At the end of the first paragraph, it states cultural and recreational activities, add a comma. The purpose, the next paragraph, the purpose and the intent of this, the bylaw should be changed to all small case. Basically, actually, anywhere in the bylaw should be pretty much small case. That saves me a lot. Under subsection 328-2, the heading, instead of it saying farming activities, agriculture and agricultural activities, it should simply say definitions, because everything after it are the definitions. Again, under subsection 328-3, right to farm declaration, there's 3 locations within that paragraph that bylaw is hyphenated and capitalized. Again, the suggestion is to make it all small case. Under subsection 328-4, disclosure notification to real estate buyers. It is recommended that we remove the whole first sentence, which is to allow prospective purchasers to make informed decisions prior to a real estate transaction and to promote harmony between farmers and their neighbors after a transaction. The suggestion was to remove that line in its entirety and capitalize the next word, the, to start the paragraph. Also, in the bottom paragraph, under the same category, subsection 328-4, the line currently reads, written notification may occur in one of several ways, including but not limited to a disclosure form, addendum to a purchase and sale agreement, and should include an acknowledgement by the buyer that they have received notification. It was suggested that we remove that in its entirety. And then, let me just double check, and then add a line. So remove that last that I read and add in, this notice will be published on the town's website and in the annual report. And then on the last page, under subsection 328-6, severability clause, again, the word bylaw, all lowercase. So most of the corrections are basically grammatical, with the exception of changing the wording definitions and adding that additional line into it.
Great. Thank you for the reading and the update. So this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against or make any comments about it, this is the opportunity to do so. Come forward and state your name and address for the record. Could you come to the microphone?
Because of
My
LCAT.
question is, what is the geographical space required to determine it's a farm? Meaning it's a 1 acre, it's a half acre? There must be some value of a space that a resident say, I'm gonna create a farm in a space and put my stuff and use that space for agricultural purposes without infringing upon the abutters, the neighbors. There's gotta be some value. I have a 1/4 acre piece of property, I'm gonna put a refrigerator machine out there, I'm gonna grow stuff, and I'm put stuff in a refrigerator machine, and it creates noise to the neighbors. I don't have that issue in my neighborhood, I'm just curious. There must be some geographical acreage space we're talking about.
Would you like? I'm sure you know better off the top of your head.
Maryland probably knows it too, so that would fall under our zoning bylaws. And currently under our zoning bylaws, there's 2 different types of agricultural. One is on farms 5 acres and greater, and the other is under 5 acres. And there's regulations for both, what you can and can't do on.
Gotcha.
And the nice thing with the right to farm bylaw is I wanted to make sure that this did not affect the zoning bylaws. And that way all those requirements are still in.
Thank you.
Great,
You're welcome.
thank you. Is there anyone else that has a?
Yeah, I want to fix that. To fix that too.
Okay, I see no one else in the audience. I don't see anyone on Zoom, so I will close the public input portion of the hearing. And now is the opportunity for the council to ask any questions or comments. I don't see any. Marilyn?
Most of this is already in play in our community. I think it just formalizes who we really are, and I think that's good. I think that's very good.
Yeah, my comment would be, I agree. I think most of this is stuff that's already happened and has been in town. It's just formalizing it as a declaration, essentially.
Right.
Any other comments?
Yeah, and that was really the only question I had, which I think is laid out pretty well in here, is the enforcement of it, and it doesn't touch the zoning, so it's just a declaration essentially, right? It's great, well written.
Great. If there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion to close the hearing? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion to close the hearing is passed. And then is there a motion to?
I would make a motion to approve the new bylaw, chapter 328, right to farm, as amended and presented with the recommendations of the general bylaw subcommittee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Perfect motion. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote since it's a bylaw. Jim?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
The motion passes.
328, jam it in there.
Great.
So if I may.
Sure.
Jackie, you will probably need a clean copy to go to, so I've printed a clean copy
Thank
for
you.
you. I have it in my computer and I will send it to you.
Okay.
I think
Thank you.
the electronic copy is easier for.
Absolutely. But I figured for the minutes and everything.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
you'll probably want one.
I didn't know that was something we changed after last year, that Jeannie had started sending bylaw changes that we made, like, as we were making them, rather than waiting till once a year to update it. So once you get the electronic copy, Jackie will send it off to eCode for us. Great. Okay, next we have a 6:30 public hearing. This is a public hearing to approve the funding of a community preservation application for the 1976 and 2026 time capsules project in the amount of $4,750 from the historic fund account. The council members from left to right are Jim Lyden, Kathy Hill, myself, Connor O'Shea, Marilyn Richards, Ralph Page, and John Torsia, and I would ask the clerk to read the legal notice into the record.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on April 14th, 2026 at 6:30 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging, located at 328 North Main Street, to address the Community Preservation Act application for the East Long Meadow Historical Commission to unearth a time capsule that was buried in 1976. Information relating to this application is available to review by the public in the town clerk's office and on the town's website. The public hearing may also be attended via Zoom webinar. For the council, Jackie Sullivan, town clerk of the council.
Thank you, Jackie. And we have our chair of the CP's Community Preservation Committee here this evening.
Okay, the Community Preservation Committee met on January 22nd. We're presented with two applications. Both of them are in front of you tonight. The first one was for the time capsule. The original request was for $6,000, and when we reviewed it, we ended up cutting it down by $1,250 because they were talking about decorating the float and advertising and things like that. Simply doesn't fit under the Community Preservation Act, so we reduced it by $1,250. And what you have in front of you tonight was approved by the commission.
Great, thank you. Since this is a public hearing, now's the opportunity if there's anyone in the public that wishes to make a comment. Okay, I see no one in the audience or on Zoom, so I will close the public input portion of the hearing. Does anyone on the council have any comments or questions? No, it seems like a very straightforward project, and thank you to everyone for putting it together. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the funding of the community preservation application for the 1976 and 2026 time capsule project in the amount of $4,750 from the historic fund account.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Second project is to,
Oh, I just have to introduce.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Getting ahead.
And then, oh, good thing we're right on time. 6:45 public hearing. This is a public hearing to approve the funding of the community preservation application for the stabilization and preservation of the old town hall project in the amount of $150,000 from the historic fund account. The council members from left to right are Jim Lyden, Kathy Hill, myself, Connor O'Shea, Marilyn Richards, Ralph Page, and John Torsia, and I would ask the clerk to read the legal notice into the record.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on April 14th, 2026 at 6:45 PM in the media room of the Council on Aging, located at 328 North Main Street, to address the Community Preservation Act application for the East Long Meadow Historical Commission to replace the roof at Town Hall and stabilize the structure supporting the roof of Town Hall. Information relating to this application is available for review by the public in the town clerk's office and on the town's website. For the council, Jackie Sullivan, town clerk, clerk for the council.
Perfect. Thank you, Jackie. Now, if you wouldn't mind.
I'm sorry. Community Preservation was presented an application by the Historical Commission for $150,000 to replace and refurbish the roof at the current town hall. I did check with Stuart Siganor, who is the executive director of the Community Preservation Commission statewide, just to make sure that this fit under everything, and he approved it. So the commission approved it unanimously, and it's for your review tonight.
Great, thank you for the overview. This is a public hearing, so now's the opportunity if there's anyone in the public that has a comment. See no one in audience or on Zoom, so I will close the public input portion of the hearing, and now is the time for any counselors with questions or comments.
Question.
Sure.
Is this the entire roof of the town hall? Is it just the roof and the structure of the bell tower? It didn't really say, it said the roof and the structure.
My understanding is the entire roof.
Didn't we recently,
The bell tower was a separate project.
so the bell towers, it was a separate project, but if that's already been done, then that's not part of it, or?
No, I don't believe that's part of it.
This is just so this is one of our capital projects, was both the pitched roof on the old town hall and then the flat roof on the annex, like where my office is.
Yeah.
So this is just the shingles on the old town hall. And if there's any need for structural replacement of the roof structure, that will happen at the same time.
Okay, so follow-up question, the bell tower, I know there was a reason that the bell had originally come out of it, because we were afraid it wasn't stable enough. So with this, is it already stable? If we ever chose to put the bell back in it, could we?
This would be the time. My position A would be that the bell was up there and rang to start the parade this year. And that's pretty aggressive at this point in the game. But I'd like to get it back up there. It's been redone, and
I just wasn't sure if all
Yeah.
of this was part of this, or if it's just.
not part of this submittal, I don't think.
Bell tower was a separate project. It was a separate submittal. Bell tower, I believe, was done when we refurbished the bell.
And it's just shingles on the regular building.
That's right.
And I think the bell tower wasn't that slate or something. Okay,
Great, makes
all my
sense.
questions answered. It's perfect, that's the way it should be.
Any other questions or comments? No, it seems straightforward, and it's nice to see the pictures, because you can't see some of the deterioration from the street side at ground level, so it's
Very
definitely
obvious.
helpful. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second,
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the funding of the community preservation application for the stabilization and preservation of the Old Town Hall project in the amount of $150,000 from the historic fund account. Second.
Motion was made, seconded.
yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you.
One more comment. We did meet in January. We did establish the spring application window. It actually started April 1st and runs until May 15th. We did have a notice also in the reminder, so I just wanted to get that out there. There's still plenty of time to start thinking about those projects.
Great.
Okay?
You said that was May 15th? Was
May 15th is the deadline.
We got some capital submittals that didn't make it, so we'll see some from the town.
All right.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Before you leave,
Yes.
question.
Sure.
So yearly, you're supposed to have a public hearing as far as.
I'm going to plan that in the spring as soon as we get this window closed. How's that sound?
Perfect, thank you.
That was my intent, was sometime after May 15th, we will post a meeting, and I know we're required to have the public hearing. I was going to tie it into our next meeting.
So just for the board's knowledge, the public hearing is basically to hear from the public on how the public thinks that these funds should be spent, whether it's open space or, whatever. And they are required yearly to have one, so.
I am also trying to line up a workshop with Stuart Siganor for the local community preservation committees
It's awesome.
to update, because it's just a moving target. The qualifications have been changing by the year, and I'd like to get everybody up to speed. He's straight out, he's going to get back to me as soon as he's got some extra time, and I'm hoping we can have it here. And I'll work with
Nice.
everybody to get that done.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Bill.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
It's the whole committee. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Next, under orders of the day, licensing matters, we have approval of a one-day liquor license for a cultural association fundraiser.
I make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for St. Paul the Apostles Church, 235 Dwight Road, for a fundraiser for the Springfield Cultural Association on April 26th from 6 PM till 11 PM.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And we have another one-day liquor license for a fundraiser for church repairs and activities.
I make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for St. Paul the Apostles Church, 235 Dwight Road, for a fundraiser for church repairs and activities on May 24th, 2026, from 6 PM to 11 PM.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next, under financial matters, we have accepting a fiscal year 2026 firefighter safety and equipment grant for the fire department for $18,190.
Bless you.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the $18,190 FY26 firefighter safety and equipment grant for the fire department per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Further discussion?
So just for the public's knowledge, this was for radio,
Yep.
portable radio.
Portable dual band radios.
Okay.
Yes, and thank you on behalf of the fire department for submitting that so that they can get the much needed equipment. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have our quarterly financial report. Many attachments.
The quarterly update gives you plenty of reading material. Yeah, so nothing out of order that we're not expecting. The overtime budget for fire has been off kilter due to an unusual amount of injured on duty situations. That's been going on since Q1. And I think we're gonna have an issue with some of the accounts for the copier leases. Again, remember, we were estimating how many pages we thought everybody was going to be printing without any historical data. Some of them have hit and some of them have missed, but I think in total we'll have some money to move around to each of those. And the last one is obviously snow and ice is over $453,000 thanks to our winter that we had this year. We were getting a little lazy during the winter, I guess, so we had to have a big one this year. Again, big picture, all of our rollbacks, the budget's nowhere near in danger, obviously. We have money that will cover these deficits in other line items in the budget.
Great.
That's about it. There's really not much of note.
Yeah, I didn't see anything minus the things that we previously knew about, and you just mentioned again that were sort of to be expected this part in the game. Did anyone else have any questions or comments? Right. And next, I just have the placeholder for the FY27 budget update. I figured we would put this on in case anyone had any discussion on the budget, but of course, with the joint meetings that we've been having between FOC and the special town council meetings, I think most of the questions we've had so far, we've been asking and answering along the way. For anyone that hadn't been following the Financial Oversight Committee meetings, they're meeting on a weekly cadence from now through, depending on whether the second meeting is necessary to conclude the recommendations, either May 4th or May 7th. The council will then have its budget public hearing starting on May 12th. And then if there's any public input at that point, we would have our final budget presentation on the 26th of May, at which point the council would vote on next year's operating budget. So same about target as last year,
Yeah.
moving along.
Yep, and I think just sort of for the record, we had submitted most of the draft budget at our last meeting.
Right.
And then per the charter, everything was submitted by the April 1st. I think Thursday, the 31st in the afternoon, the capital plan was added, all the org charts, and the message in the title page. So just so we're all clear that all the dates were hit in the charter. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I would just echo the comments that Jim had earlier. I mean, between Kim and of course your whole team, it's definitely been a well-oiled machine. And even though we always seem to come up with new questions each year, it's definitely the amount of information that we have is very valuable. So thank you.
It's definitely in depth.
Oh, yeah. If anyone at home wants to read it, it's a light over 8 pages on the town's websites. Okay, next we have approval of minutes. We have the March 24th open session.
I make a motion to approve the March 24, 2026 open session minutes.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And our March 24th executive session minutes.
Make a motion to approve the March 24th, 2026 executive session minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One abstention.
And one abstention. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, next under old business, we have the 250th anniversary again.
We are having fun. It just dawned on me, I did not forward you, there is a, we've got, I think we mentioned last time, there's a whole schedule of events based on the calendar this year. The carnival obviously will run from July 30th to, June 30th to July 4th. But starting the weekend, the Friday before that, there will be a series of events at Center Field. I just sent the flyer to your inboxes. I forgot to send that to you. We have, kicks off on, let me see here. Let me make sure I get everything right. Friday the 26th, there'll be a car and truck show beginning at 5 p.m. And then a band will go on at 7. Just Go With It, I guess is the name of the band. June 27th, that's Saturday, we're going to have a bonfire sponsored by the fire department. No, they'll be there though. Yeah, they're a little. No, I mean, obviously that's one of those to be determined kind of things. If it's too windy, if it's too dry, hopefully the conditions will be good for that. That'll be a fun event at Center Field. There's going to be a cornhole tournament on Sunday the 28th. A Veterans Appreciation Dinner 9th. And then the carnival will start on the 30th and go through the 4th of July. Obviously, the beer garden will be open. There will be concerts every night. So we're expecting quite the celebration. The Rotary Club, Rec Department, the whole town of East Long Meadow, East Village Tavern. We're expecting a fun, however many 9 nights of events at Center Field. So we got a lot of that going. It's very exciting. We're trying to meet periodically to make sure all the pieces are falling into place, and we're working on our sort of budgetary allotments, and that will be sort of another conversation to follow.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Seems to be a well-orchestrated schedule of events.
Thank you for the flyer.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
So, Adele sent that to me yesterday from the Rotary Club. It's pretty amazing.
Get in.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right. I didn't have any other updates so far for the 250th, but I'm sure, as usual, we'll have more at the next. Okay, next under old business, we had an update on the annual town election ballot question language for the proposed charter amendment relative to multiple bylaw changes simultaneously. So at previous meeting, a couple meetings ago, the council previously voted on the language for the charter amendment in its entirety. And then through that process, it goes through the Attorney General's office to make sure that it's essentially something we're allowed to do and is in the proper form. They came back very quickly this year and was in order there. Then the next step was to have the language that would appear on the ballot, because it wouldn't be the entire, very long paragraph in its entirety. It has to be a summarized version. And that's something that typically the town clerk, as well as our town legal counsel, draft in conjunction. Last year, I think we all know that the question was very vague in its wording, to no fault of anyone, but it just left a lot of questions about what people were actually voting on. So this year we had gone back to Jesse, our legal counsel, to see if we could make it more clear what that summary was actually going to be. He did come back this morning, so that I had sent that out. So essentially, his recommendation would be for it to say in Article 2, Section 6, the revised language would allow for the revision or recodification of multiple bylaw amendments to be recommended, and then this is his addition, by a bylaw review committee established and operating in accordance with the procedures contained in Article 9, Section 9-3, in 10-year intervals in each year ending in a 5. That was the end of his insertion. To the town council, at the same time, using an expedited procedure that exempts such revision or recodification from the typical requirements contained in that section for an individual bylaw amendment. Since with the charter amendment process, the council only has to vote on the entirety of what we would be changing in the bylaw, but not actually the question. This is mostly just more of an informational, and as long as we're good with the phrasing of it, but we don't actually have to vote on the ballot language itself.
Quick question.
Sure.
Nowhere in this does it even reference the charter. It gives cites, article, section. I think for those who are perhaps not up to speed on this, and will be voting on it, perhaps, Article 2, Section 6 of the town's charter, or somewhere where it's appropriate to add it.
Good question. And so in the last year's ballot, I think we would follow the same format where it'll be under a section header called ballot question. I don't know what the number is yet, but it might be question 1 perhaps. And it would say question 1. The sentence would still stay the same as last year, where it says, shall the town approve the charter amendment in
Okay,
Article 2,
that's fine, as
town
long as
council
it's
of the
mentioned.
charter proposed by the town council is summarized below, and then it says summary, and it would be this paragraph underneath it. So I suppose I didn't include the whole format of what it would look like, but that would be the revised summary.
I like this language. It adds, the 10-year interval and stuff to it. Seems to be very easy to understand.
I agree. I think I had given him a couple different options, and I think this is better than the options I even had come up with, so. I think it's good because it also emphasizes that there is also a bylaw review committee in place, so in addition to the council reviewing them ourselves and ultimately voting on it, there's additional eyes on it, so it's not as if anything is slipping through the covers here.
Right.
So unless there's any comments or concerns, there's really no action we have to take, but as long as we're good with it, then we can have Jackie add it to the ballot. Great. And next we have the annual town election proposed non-binding ballot question relative to recreational marijuana. This was something that we had, she is on Zoom if you want to promote her, Christina. They had come.
Unless you can read that from here.
Yeah, I can, for now anyway. They had come before the council about this time last year, seeking this question. And ultimately, it wasn't able to be on the ballot for last year with some procedural issues, but it was something that we had subsequently talked about quite a few times over the last year. So I don't know if you have anything in particular, Christina, that you wish to add or update the council on this evening.
I think we just wanted to confirm what the verbiage would be for the June election, just so if, we wanted to have a community meeting or, some conversations, we knew exactly what to tell people what was going to be on the ballot.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So then, this was something that we had also posed to Jesse because we weren't sure. I mean, since the council's inception, we really hadn't put, minus the MLP, a non-binding question of our own on the ballot before, and we weren't sure if there were any particular rules or language formats that we had to follow. And his opinion was that since it is non-binding, there really aren't many rules. We can format it or make it sound as we choose. I had put together 3 different options, which I'm not sure if everyone got it in the packet, but I did send it back out at the start of the meeting. So it's really the council's pleasure as to which one we choose. That 3 that I had put together, option 1 would have been to say, should the East Long Meadow Town Council vote to repeal the town's 2017 voter-approved prohibition on recreational marijuana establishments? Option 2, which should the East Long Meadow Town Council vote to repeal the town's 2017 voter-approved prohibition on the establishment of recreational marijuana businesses within the town? Or option 3 would be, should the East Long Meadow Town Council vote to repeal the town's 2017 voter-approved ban on recreational marijuana establishments, thereby allowing such establishments in the town subject to state and local regulation? Or we could come up with something different if we don't like the language of any of those.
I have a question, please.
Sure.
2017, did these votes occur after the state initiative?
I believe so. So we voted on the state
It's
ballot
2016.
statewide in 2016,
Right.
but then I forget what the timeline was exactly, but local towns had up to a year after that after it was
To vote
voted
on
on to actually only if that community had voted in the majority no statewide could those towns within a year then vote locally on their ballot to prohibit it. So I think that's why
So
there was the
is-
2017 delay.
And is that vote the ballot question that we had, or was there another ballot question before that?
Well, there was the ballot question on the state ballot, but the
No,
2017
town.
one was the town one.
And then previous to that, it was the town meeting. So we have, initially, the town voted no for town meeting. And then it was the
Excuse me,
state.
do you remember what year that was?
I do not. I remember a lot of things, but not that. Then there was the state initiative. And because East Long Meadow did not vote in the affirmative for this, that was basically the second time that we had said no. And now this ballot question in 2017 was the first that we said no. I just want to confirm that we have said no 3 times.
I think the town meeting, if I'm not mistaken, it may have been on because in 2012, there was the medical marijuana question.
Right.
So it might have been,
Were you on the planning board then? No.
I was still in high school at that point. But I do remember, the medical marijuana and then the legalization of marijuana in 2016. And then, that grace period. So I don't remember the town, but I think it probably more or less I think it was before the actual legalization statewide of non-medical use.
That probably explains it. Because
And that's why
I didn't find anything about the recreational side for the third one that you were talking about, but that probably because our zoning bylaws do talk about medical marijuana, like dispensary facilities, probably the time frame for
Then
some of
we
that.
added the recreational aspect into it.
Right.
I was on the
Right.
planning board.
You were not in high school?
I was not. I do remember the medical, that we had to craft a bylaw quickly and because it was mandated that we had to allow it in certain areas after the state vote. And it was like, now what do we do? And again, they didn't have any bylaw language at the time. And so we were going with Pioneer Valley Planning and what they tried to craft for us. But time-wise, man, it all just seemed to happen one after another and
Right. think if it were my preference in terms of verbiage of the question, I think option one's probably the simplest without getting into too many complexities, given that it is a non-binding question, but certainly open to feedback if anyone has any thoughts.
So I'll just give my take on it. I thought a lot about this question. For me personally, I think there's enough access points generally around East Long Meadow when it comes to recreational marijuana. I think moratorium has its own value. As a parent, I think there's a protectionist angle to this in terms of protecting our youth. I think there's a public health angle to this that I think should consider, especially in light of our recent episode with A to Z, and not to conflate that with this. I understand this is more regulated. This is not an ascent industry any longer. This is a built-up industry with plenty of access in surrounding towns. And the more I thought about it, I felt like, in good conscience, I couldn't lend my voice and my vote to forsaking, I think, a lot of people, more so children in this community, youth, thinking about high school students potentially walking through the center, middle school students getting out of school, potentially for the benefit of a very few. And so I'm going to be voting no on putting this on the ballot. That's my take on it. So whatever the debate is in terms of language, have at it, but that's my take on the ballot initiative.
Any other comments? Marilyn?
Of course. All right, folks. We know this process started initially when we were approached by Christina and her husband, asking if we would change the bylaw to allow for retail marijuana in East Long Meadow. Now, retail marijuana would currently be allowed in the business zone, industrial zone, not commercial, not residential, and not the Industrial Garden Park. Industrial Garden Park does not allow for retail establishments. So we're talking about certain areas in town where if we voted to repeal what's in place right now, that's where a pot shop would go. Now, when Christina and her husband came to the council and talked about this, I should have spoken up then, and I'm sorry I didn't, because we've been kicking the can down the road. And it's, if I learned anything as a member of the planning board and excellent teachers and knowledge base surrounding me, when you change a zoning bylaw, you do not change a zoning bylaw to address the needs or desires of an individual entity. You make changes because it's for the better good of the community. You make changes because it's public safety issues. There are obviously reasons why we would want to modify our bylaws. But to strictly change the bylaw because an individual wants to open up retail marijuana shop in East Long Meadow, it's not proper. It's an individual goal. It's not a town goal. It's not for the betterment of the community. I can reflect what Jim just said. I'm concerned about our youth. Based on what we had with the establishment in the north end of town, all this illegal acquisition of our kids getting into two substances right under our noses, and we didn't even know what was going on. And that really didn't set well, because these are our kids. And whether they're able to access a pot shop or not, it could potentially be in our community, it could potentially be in the center of East Long Meadow. And it's there, it's in our environment. It sends a message that this is okay. It's a drug. I'm a nurse. I just cannot wrap my head around changing this when the town several times in opposition to putting, establishing retail marijuana in our community. However, the last point I want to focus on, and it's to me the most important one, and it's that within the last couple of years, our town has embarked on a real initiative to try to improve, enhance our business opportunities in our town center, as well as invite residential opportunities as well, and have them coexist, live in harmony with one another. More recently, the council gave a sort of outline of a wish list, or not a wish list, a list of options or ideas that the council would like to see in this new center district. The planning board is working on it. I'm really excited that we're moving forward with this. When you look at the statute, I'm going to go back to this. When you look at the statute says that we would be entitled to a certain amount of licenses if this were to pass, based on how many alcohol licenses we have for package stores. I believe we have 3 package store? 4, okay. 20% of that number 4 are the number of licenses that we could have in East Long Meadow if the appeal went through. I did 3 because I thought, and it got to 0.6, so I'm still thinking it's around 1 license that we would be eligible to have for a retail marijuana.
This is just based on package stores?
Package stores.
At a minimum.
Right. I'm sorry?
That was at a minimum. 20%.
Right.
Was a package, that was a minimum.
Okay. So we probably, with the town center, if we passed this repeal, and if we only were issuing 1 license to a community, or not a community, a business entity, more than likely it would be in close proximity, if not in our town center. And I think about what kind of risk that would be. We're trying to enhance our town center. We're trying to encourage business to come to East Long Meadow. We're looking at market rate housing opportunities so that the individuals that occupy these units would be able to support the business that we have in our town center. And likewise, because they are there, they may invite different types of business opportunities, which is the goal, to enhance revenue, revitalize our center. And the message that comes from a pot shop, I don't feel it's the proper place for it in our town center. I'm concerned. I should have spoken up previously about the zoning aspect. However, I will not be voting in favor of putting this on the ballot either. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Any other thoughts?
I guess I'll go next.
Sure.
Unless we're all finished.
I don't mind. You can go first. I
I'm
can
not,
go next.
I don't have anything new to points to make to the discussion, but in some ways, to echo Marilyn's innate feelings as a trained nurse, I have similar ones as a trained educator, and having spent almost 40 years with middle school students, one thing I know for sure, and it's been illustrated very recently for us with the struggles we've had with a local business that sold alcohol products and vaping products, that if an adolescent wants to get something they shouldn't have, they still have ways that they can get it. And I recognize that in the marijuana industry, the dispensaries are highly regulated. They probably manage their own security so that they're not selling to people under 18, but again, a 15-year-old has a way, will find a way, and I'm concerned that, given the fact that we already stumbled into a situation that we had no awareness of. And the fact that in terms of the health and safety of our youngsters, we're struggling as a society with overuse of cell phones, the impact of various types of social media that have been documented to be detrimental to the mental health of teenagers. I would have to say my thinking is going to line up with Jim and Marilyn, that we don't need to put another roadblock in front of the younger population in this town and tempt them with anything else. Those who, wish to avail themselves of marijuana have no shortage of places to go in the immediate area. So I don't feel as though that we're denying any demographic the opportunity to participate in any consumption of marijuana. I don't have a bias to that, but I do have a bias to children being endangered.
Ralph?
Why, thank you. So I tend to agree with what everyone says, but my position's a little bit different. This is a non-binding question. I think we should be looking to put this on the ballot so that we can hear from the residents of the town. It was 9 years ago that this was on. Many things have changed in 9 years. My thought with this was, I don't get out there to, all the residents, all the different ones. That's quite obvious. And I would like to hear from them. It does not mean we have to vote for it. It's non-binding. And again, it doesn't put, to me, any specific pressure on us. It allows us to get the feel for what our community would want. And that's all it does. Again, this isn't, hey, we put it on, they say yes, and it's automatically, going to be adopted. That's not the case, and there's a good chance that it still wouldn't be, but it gives us the opportunity to hear from the town as a whole on what their thoughts are. I'd like to think that I'm dialed in on it, but we know mistakes are made, so that's my thought. The non-binding question does not hurt to put it on the ballot to find out what the temperature of the town is for it.
Do you have any thoughts, John?
I thought with Jim and Carolyn, you guys made some very good points. I think it's a quality of life issue. I would be concerned about the idea of marijuana being recreationally sold in the community, especially being in the center of town, being so close to, our new high school. Having said that, though, I do sort of share Ralph's thoughts on, I'm generally, whether it's marijuana or some other issue, leery about sort of stopping it from being voted on and allowing the people, we can kind of have our opinions on it, but I feel like more of the question at hand is whether, simply we're allowing the citizens to vote on it or not, irrespective of kind of the issue. It was like 70-30 the last time. I don't know if that would move so quickly the other way in just 8 or 9 short years. It may. So I don't know. I'm very divided on it because I don't necessarily think it might be the best thing for the community. But having said that, I am uncomfortable with potentially not allowing it to go to the ballot. But
yeah, my thoughts on it are more close to Ralph and John in that, first, I think would be doing the people that petitioned the council initially a bit of a disservice that we kind of strung them along and said that, oh yeah, we'll put it on the ballot. We know you didn't make it last time. We'll put it on the ballot this time. And now basically a whole year would have been wasted if we don't put it on the ballot as a non-binding question to at least get the temperature of the town in terms of what the residents are thinking. They still could go forward with it if we don't put it on the ballot ourselves. I mean, at that point, they would probably have to wait until next year potentially, or they could follow a citizen initiative process and force the council to repeal it at their discretion with the appropriate number of votes. But then secondly, I think, as Ralph said, it is important, and that, I mean, I know personally a lot of things in my political opinion have changed over the last 9 or 10 years. And I think it's good for us to get a temperature check on what the residents think. If it comes back that they're still vehemently opposed to it, great, then we know that our weather vane is dialed in and we can continue with what our intuition is telling us about how to plan and move forward with the town and the decisions that we're doing. But if we find that they come back with the complete opposite decision than half the council would have made, then perhaps our intuition in representing them appropriately isn't correct. And I would want to know that.
Through the chair, what is the recourse? So if we were to reject this tonight, would the petitioners then need to gather like a significantly higher amount of signatures, and then would that sort of override or force it onto the ballot, a future ballot?
Well, I think originally we thought that it had to be on the ballot a long time ago when we started this process, because it was originally something that the voters voted on a ballot, but that was determined that they only had to do that because we were adding the prohibition. But our legal counsel said that if you're removing the prohibition, it's something that the council can do directly, which is where the whole non-binding question thing came from. So I would think that as a result of that, they could, in the charter, just follow the citizens petition process to just force the council to act on the matter without it ever having to go to the ballot. Now, they would need a lot of signatures for that to happen, but I think it is possible. And then if the council, because I think there were a couple phases, like they could bring it to the council with enough signatures, and then we would have to make a decision. If it was an unfavorable decision from the council, they could still force it to happen, but they need even more signatures to go forward with that. And I would hate to see it have to go that way if the voters can make a pretty clear indication of, are we on target or are we off base here?
So through the chair, one last comment is, if this goes to the voters and then the voters come back at the same rate as they did, that helps us, not just this council, but any future council going forward, saying, hey, listen, not only did the voters vote it down originally in 2017, but then we put it up in front of them again, and they came back again and said that they don't want it, so that's it, you know, and, but again, like I said, it's more to me to just get a temperature of what the town is. I'm assuming I know what it is, and I'm assuming we would all be in agreement with it. But boy, assumptions are not good. And like I said, being non-binding and that it doesn't stick, I think it's a good opportunity to get a temperature of the town. That's my only thought. And again,
I respect that.
Whatever the board chooses.
And this is just me personally. I just think that, you know, a child starting middle school next year, I think of him going through the center, you know, potentially. And I know what these, you know, through social media, you know, what kids are facing these days, and the fact that East Long Meadow's in a unique position because of the way it has voted a couple times. They're in a unique position where I'm not naive enough to think that a moratorium here is going to prevent and be a cure-all for everything for my kids. But you know what? We do live in a community that has one. I think that's something that's worth protecting. And I'm in a unique position where I can be one that can help protect that. And I'm going to use my vote and my voice to help do that, regardless of putting it out to the, as an initiative petition or not. And I said, the more I thought about it, you know, this is a situation of, after, at least again, my perspective, I can either vote to choose to, my perspective, look at it for, I think we're doing something that's potentially just benefiting very few compared to potentially starting to go down a path of of not benefiting many people. So I understand that argument in terms of putting it to the voters and taking the temperature. And I just, on a different side of it, the new high school, kids walking through the center, middle school students and what they're exposed to. So that's just my feeling on it. I respect anybody else's opinion on it, but that's how I feel about it. That's how I'll be voting on any potential motion.
The only final thing I would add is, I mean, I know there's some concerns given things that have happened with an alcohol licensee recently, but I mean, I think it's a lot of the concern when all of this started back in 2016 and 17, I think was rightfully justified because we didn't really know what the regulations were going to look like or how things were actually going to come to fruition with all the regulations and what the businesses would look like. But now I think it's pretty clear that they're even more regulated than alcohol and security is required. So it's probably the safest retail establishment you could have in your community. You can be less safe in any of our alcohol establishments, of which there are many. But that's just my take on the matter.
And I don't disagree with that. I really don't. I just think if we have the opportunity where we can, why change course? Is basically we don't have one now. I don't think having one's gonna really do anything for everybody else. So why change course? And why start going down that road to do so? Things are fine, I think, the way they are.
So, I mean, obviously, we're in a discussion. If it went on the ballot and the ballot came back 80-20 for it, it doesn't mean that the council still has to vote for it.
But you will. You will. Because it's very difficult.
Because again, I'm looking at it the same way you are. I don't think we need one in town, even though I've driven by many, like you said, and they're very, very secure, more so than any package store or anything else. But, and again, I think you can go to Springfield, 5 minutes down the road if you need to.
Think about this. We're not here having this discussion because there was a tremendous outcry from our community. We weren't reading about it on social media that East Long Meadow is lacking because we do not have recreational marijuana for sale in our town. We're here because two individuals have a interest in opening up a business for themselves. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the two folks, but it's personally based. That's how we started with this. And in terms of changing a zoning bylaw to address the needs of an individual entity, that's not right. That's not in the best interest of our community. And, for someone who's worked in town government for a very long time, I'm proud of how we have, as elected officials, have conducted business like this over the years. We don't change zoning bylaws to take care of our friends. We change zoning bylaws because there's a need in the community, the community would benefit, or perhaps public safety. I mean, there are a number of reasons, as I focused on before. And if we were only limited to one license, not only if we changed the bylaw, repealed it, not only would they benefit from having the only license in town, if they were the ones that were given that license, they would also benefit from a town that has absolutely no other competition in this area. I don't know if that's healthy too, but my main focus goes back to day one, when we sat here and there was discussion about trying to change the bylaw to accommodate their needs. And then, thanks to Jackie, she helped me find the documentation on the ballot question that had taken place in our community. And so then the feeling was, because it was a ballot question, we would have to repeal with another ballot question. That was how we got into this. And so I understand everyone else's, I like to hear from the community. However, the non-binding part of the question, I can envision that if it was an 80-20 in favor of repeal, that this council would sit here without me and say, we're not going to do this. It's not going to happen. I know human nature, and I know these folks. That's what I have to
I
say.
think in that case, we would be hard pressed to ignore the voice of the people.
Right, absolutely.
So in this case, we're basically saying we don't want to hear what the people have to say.
No, in
That's
this
my
case,
opinion,
in this
right?
case, we're not saying that. In this case, we've been kicking the can down the road to satisfy an entity that wants to open up a business in our town, and they want us to change the rules to do that.
But under zoning, that's what most people start with. They start with themselves. They come in, whether it's, a farm or whether it's a different type of business, massage therapy salons. That started as one person.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, Ralph. If you really got into the zoning bylaws when you were on the planning board, you would know that you don't embark on a zoning change to satisfy the needs and the desires of one single entity. How's the town going to benefit from this? We don't even know. We don't even know. And I apologize for not speaking up sooner. I just moved along with the rest of us thinking they'll never get the signatures, or the town will probably not vote this, and they may not. I mean, I read Facebook and I hear the comments that people are making, both pro and con. And it's not like we're depriving our community of access to anything. And it's not like we have an overwhelming need to add this to our town center new district area, because that's probably where it would be. If you can only have one license, that's probably where it would be.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move that we move forward with the non-binding question with your first suggestion.
Sure.
As far as the language.
Motion was made. I will second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
I would ask for a roll call.
Oh,
Probably
sure.
have a roll call.
Roll call. Jim?
No.
Kathy?
No,
I am a yes. Marilyn?
No,
Ralph?
Yes.
And John?
No.
The motion fails. So at this point, it won't be on the local June 2026 election, but I would encourage the petitioner to take a look at the town charter if you wish to pursue it and follow the citizen initiative petition process. Next, under new business, we have the zoning bylaws diagnostic presentation by Barrett Planning Group.
are they on?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Super, thank you.
Favorite person.
Thank you.
So I have a few slides. I think they'll make this pretty easy to go through. Do I have screen share permission?
you should.
Oh, this is lovely. Thank you. Hold on. Okay. Can you see that slide?
Yes.
Okay. So this has been a fun and kind of interesting project. Your staff have been wonderful to work with. The team that worked on this includes myself and Bob Mitchell. We also had a planner who was with my firm until recently, who has joined the planning department in Watertown, who assisted with this project as well. So it's had three, and at this point, actually 4 sets of eyes on it, because we've also tried to do some analysis of the zoning map as well. So I'm just going to go through some high level, I guess I'd call them findings and maybe food for thought, and some of them are heartfelt recommendations. and I'll try to categorize those for you as best I can. There are kind of two buckets of suggestions that have come out of the zoning diagnostic. Some of them are purely technical, and some of them are policy-based. So the technical ones probably bore some people to death, but to me, they're just very exciting because they're interesting and they're fun, and it's nice to end up with a zoning bylaw that people can actually read and find what they're looking for and not have to struggle with what something means. So on that note, I guess I'd say it's probably not everybody's favorite priority, but I think your zoning bylaw really does need kind of a soup to nuts update. There are a lot of pieces in it that are inconsistencies and things that are out of alignment with state law at this point, just simply because things haven't been updated. And I think I think there's probably nothing more helpful to the public, to a town board, to an applicant, than a bylaw where people aren't struggling to understand what something means or what the intent is. So I just, as an umbrella suggestion, I think at some point you're going to want to reorganize and update what you have. There are technical and substantive inconsistencies kind of threaded throughout the bylaw. I mean, a simple technical example is the different ways that the zoning act is referred to. In some sections, it's GL 40A, in others, it's MGL 40A, and in other places, it's Chapter 40A. Why do these things happen? They happen because at different times, zoning bylaws are amended by different people who have a different style, and they don't necessarily go back and check and see what the conventions are elsewhere in a bylaw. So it may seem like a very minor thing to you, but to someone who doesn't eat, sleep, and breathe zoning, these kinds of inconsistencies can be somewhat disconcerting. And those kinds of things kind of persist throughout the bylaw. There are some substantive inconsistencies as well that often surface between the table of uses and some of the text regulations that exist in the body of the bylaw relative to use regulations. And a simple one that comes to mind is family home daycare versus large family home daycare. Both appear in your table of uses, but when you actually get into the text special regulations for family home daycare, it only refers to one of them. So then the question is, well, what about large family home daycare that's in the table of uses? Are there any special regulations that pertain to that? So there are just these kinds of things that are a bit jarring when you go through the document. As a general rule, I would say the sort of standards and conditions column that's in the table of uses needs to align better with the text regulations in the zoning bylaw. I would also just add, I think there's a cleaner way to accomplish what you're trying to do with that standards and conditions column. I mean, if you can picture the zoning bylaw, and I'm sure you probably all can, you have use regulations kind of lined up on the left side of the table. And then you have this column, standards and conditions, that I think is an attempt to be helpful to the user to sort of know, gosh, golly gee, there are some additional things you need to know about. And then, of course, the columns that show the different districts in town and whether a use is permitted, special permitted, or prohibited. So that standards and conditions column is not always as consistent as one would like with the text regulations in the zoning bylaw. And I think when you reorganize and update the bylaw as a whole, that table needs to be reconceived. So revising the table of uses to include all the use districts and eliminate inconsistencies between the table and the text. Again, there are districts that aren't necessarily in the table of use regulations that show up in the bylaw. I think there are reasons for that, but it is, again, it's sort of disconcerting when you're a user and you're trying to figure out, where's my land? What can I do with it? And where in this bylaw do I go? It's not always as clear as it could be. And of course, the challenge then is someone goes to the building inspector and the building inspector is stuck with a bylaw that's not all that clear. So he or she is trying to make an interpretation. Somebody's unhappy with the interpretation. They end up with the Board of Appeals. And just a lot of that sort of stuff can be eliminated if the bylaw is clear throughout. The other thing that we noticed, and again, this is just because the bylaw probably hasn't been cleaned up in what I would call soup to nuts for a long time, there are a lot of cross-reference and citation errors in it. So you'll be reading a section that refers to some other section of the bylaw, and you go to find that section and it either doesn't exist or it's not what you think it's going to be because it's on some completely different topic. Those kinds of things need to be cleaned up. Whether you reorganize the whole bylaw or simply do a real cleanup, those kinds of things should be addressed. The non-conforming uses, structures, and lots provisions of the bylaw, I think need a wholesale update. There are things that have changed in the statute that are not reflected there. I'm sure your planning board and ZBA and building inspector probably know what all those updates are, but a user would not from reading the bylaw. So that section itself, even if you didn't do an overall cleanup of the bylaw, that one would be a good one to look at. You have two sections that are kind of intriguing to me. We do a lot of zoning cleanup work, and so these two sections in particular, I think Bob Mitchell and I both kind of looked at and said, you have an article with Article 5, which is special use regulations, and there's a variety of uses listed there, and what's required for them. And many of them, I would say most of them, require a special permit. And then you get to Article 8, special permits, and there are laced within that section references to particular things that some uses have to meet. And those two articles are, I won't even say they're in conflict. They're just sort of an incomplete picture. You kind of have to read both in order to understand if I want to do a certain use that requires a special permit, what are all the boxes that I need to check in order to get to a yes. So I think those two sections in particular could be aligned much better than they are. And then all of Article 8, I would say, there are some inconsistencies. There's some confusing language. This is written up more completely in the report, but just bear with me if you will. Also, some processes that are really contrary to state law. And one that we saw that we've seen in a lot of communities, and it's a problem. When a board thinks that they can simply reopen and rescind a special permit that was previously granted, or reopen a special permit and modify it, the zoning act's very clear. I mean, you have to kind of treat that special permit almost on a de novo basis. You have to follow all the procedures for a special permit if you're going to modify one that was previously granted. And that's not what your bylaw says. So, when we see things like this, it kind of makes us concerned that there may be procedures being followed that aren't really consistent with the law. So I think Article 8 really would benefit from an update soon. And the other thing, too, along the lines of special permits is the bylaw is not always clear about who the special permit granting authority is. If you're looking at the table of uses, you can sort of figure it out. But often in the text regulations of the bylaw, it'll simply refer to the special permit granting authority, or, an unnamed entity may grant a special permit to the user, again, who's trying to perhaps open a business in your town or develop some housing in your town or just do something under your zoning that requires a special permit. It's not clear, where do I go? And so, it's easy to say, well, to go to the building inspector can tell you, but someone ought to be able to open a zoning bylaw and kind of figure out, at least at an elementary level, what do I need? Here's what I need to do. Where's my land? What district am I in? And what can I do with my property? And what do I have to kind of go through to get to a yes? Those things ought to be, in an elementary way, all very clear. So those are kind of the technical things. And then there are these policy issues. And we sort of stuck our neck out a little bit on this, but again, I think when you're living in the world of land use in Massachusetts right now, or really almost any state, we see the very similar issues in other states. We do a lot of work in Connecticut and New Hampshire, and some of this is just, it's not Massachusetts and it's not unique to East Longmeadow, but nonetheless, there are issues. It's not clear in reading your zoning what the purposes are of the districts that you have. It would be really helpful if you are going to do an update of your zoning to simply describe, what is this district about? What is this district for? If you have a central business district, then there are certain things that one would expect to kind of see in a purpose statement like that. If you have a residential district that perhaps provides for a variety of residential uses, it's probably going to have a different purpose statement than one that's sort of an agricultural residential zone. It would be a good exercise for everybody, I think, to sit down and with the list of districts you have in your zoning and say, what do we think the purposes of these districts are? We think that down the road, you're going to want to take a look at the boundaries of some of your districts and probably revise them. I think one of the healthiest things to do in any zoning rewrite is to step back from everything you have and just look at your town and say, where would we like certain things to be? And almost put blinders on to what the district boundaries are that you have now, and think about what really sort of makes sense based on what you know about your town. And chances are you may end up coming up with a somewhat different configuration than you have today. That's a big ask and it's a big leap, and we're not promoting a wholesale change in your zoning map. But it did make me wonder from time to time, just looking at the map and looking at your land use pattern, do these boundaries kind of all make sense? Are they really doing what you want them to do? There are a variety of comments that we have about housing that your community and really most communities need to be thinking about. How do we provide for a wider variety of housing choices in a way that someone can actually get an approval and build and get something that the town is going to like, but that's also going to create opportunities to live in your community for younger people, for older people to stay, for people who are in the middle and just want to not, to have more choices than perhaps they're getting out of the new development that occurs now. There's a definite need in the zoning to kind of clean up some of the definitions. It's important in zoning to distinguish between a dwelling and a dwelling unit, and your zoning doesn't really do that. It would be so wise, and I think helpful to all of you, to think about, well, how do we define what we want in housing? And not only the uses, but also the dimensional standards and kind of what sort of form of development do we want in a way that's objective and clear, so someone can actually apply to build what you say you want and not have to go through a discretionary special permit process, which is costly, and it's discretionary, and that means that different boards can make different decisions, especially when the special permit granting criteria are so broad. So thinking about ways that you can be very objective in your zoning might get you more of what you really want, and it also reduces the potential for surprises to a neighborhood. Housing affordability is important. I think a well-structured inclusionary zoning or inclusionary housing bylaw that makes economic sense could benefit your community. And certainly if you were going to make it easier to develop small scale multifamily than you do now, or any multifamily than you do now, I think it's important to think about how do you get some public benefit out of that. In addition to having housing choice, perhaps affordability is also something you want to be clear about, and write the standards in a way that doesn't make that housing uneconomic to build. The other thing I will just say is we always talk about what zoning says or doesn't say because it matters. But I think everyone needs to understand that right now, a lot of the sort of small scale multifamily that might fit well into a single family neighborhood or into a community that kind of prides itself on having maybe, mainly a single family market, a lot of the smaller scale multifamily buildings that would fit are actually difficult to do under the building code. So thinking about the ways in which you can use your subdivision regulations to increase the potential for small single family, call it cottage, or just small single family homes, as well as two family homes. You can do a lot with your subdivision regulations in addition to zoning to make those things possible. A review of the zoning regulations was kind of beyond our scope, but it's something I look at a lot in these projects because that importance of being able to create lots and lots that are small, that are actually going to give you smaller housing units. Sometimes subdivision regulations are just as much of a culprit as zoning is. The bylaw also has some language in it that really needs to sort of be cleaned up and make it disappear. We don't talk about institutions for the sick, handicapped, or feeble anymore. We talk about housing or residential facilities for people with disabilities, and just some language cleanup, I think, would be very appropriate. Mixed use development, again, I think you're going to hear pretty consistently from us. If you want something, be clear about it, provide for it as of right, and have objective standards. If you do all of those things, it actually makes the job of a board easier. It makes it easier for the public to anticipate what's coming. It certainly makes it easier for an applicant to prepare something that's going to be, approvable the first time around. And then also, of course, to make sure that the scale of what you say you want in mixed use development is appropriate for your community. This kind of dovetails a bit with off-street parking. Your town is not alone in this, but I think there really is a need to kind of revisit your parking regulations in terms of what you require, as well as the parking standards, thinking about ways that you can ease the process for perhaps sharing parking or having access to off-site parking. Most parking bylaws today do not do exactly what they should do, which is they also need to think about bicycle parking. So that needs to be thought about as well. How do we make sure that we have adequate facilities in our business districts and also in our multifamily developments for people to have bicycle parking? And then having clear standards again to allow parking modifications through the site plan review process versus a special permit. As I think you probably all know, you have to be a little bit careful with an as of right type of process that you don't end up creating waivers that are discretionary and have the potential to actually change how much someone can build on their property. So this needs to be given some thought, but I think generally when you can make some parking modifications through site plan review, it just makes it easier for the board and the applicant to sort of know what the boundaries are. And sometimes you simply do need a special permit to deal with parking modifications, but I think the goal is to try to keep that to a minimum. This leads me to the next issue, which is site plan review and special permits. We think it's really important for your community to uncouple your site plan review process from special permit. You're essentially using site plan review to follow the procedures of special permits, and it really, they're very different. Site plan review needs to make it possible for the planning board or whatever entity, but typically it's the planning board, to review an as of right development. And since it's as of right, it kind of means the board's not going to deny it, but the board would be imposing conditions on its approval, so that the applicant kind of has to comply in order to get a building permit. But you don't need 65 days to open the hearing and 90 days to make a decision for a site plan decision, because it's not discretionary. So I think that part of your bylaw really needs to be looked at. And I would underscore that we are all expecting in the planning world, the legislature to finally, after several years of effort, to change the Zoning Act to provide for site plan review, which right now is not in the Zoning Act. It is simply a creature of home rule. And that's why we have 351 varieties of site plan review in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So an effort to kind of standardize this is coming, and it would be good for you, I think, to get ahead of that and be thinking about how are we going to be able to make site plan review work for as of right uses, and perhaps not to have to rely so much on the additional requirements of a special permit. The design review section of your site plan section of your bylaw also really should be given, I think, more thought. There are a lot of vague and very subjective standards in it. They probably work fine for a special permit. They're not going to work fine for as of right review. It's not that hard to write objective standards for design. And typically you're going to find those sometimes in a design standard section, sometimes in dimensional and density regulations. So you're trying to connect what you say can happen on a lot and where it can happen on a lot with the sort of outcome, the built form outcome that you're seeking through design review. So thinking more about how to connect those two parts of your zoning so they speak together in a coherent way, I think would also be very helpful to your town. And that is really, like I said, a high level look at what our thinking is on this. I'm happy to kind of respond to any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions?
I was just sort of curious, what is the status of that legislation? So has that gone through the legislature already, or where are they kind of at with it?
Oh, you asked such a good question. I have seen what I think is the final draft. We are all hoping that that is going to go through this year. It has been kicking around for, oh gosh, probably 25 years of my career. So, and I'm old. So we're thinking it'll probably be this year.
So it's still in committee?
Yes. Yeah, I think so, but it's moving. It's not shelved anymore. It's moving. So it's moving in a direction that frankly is consistent with what I'm trying to tell you. And it's why I think you need to be thinking now about how do you make site plan review work for you for a review of an as of right use. Because first of all, it's coming. And second, it's just good planning. A good zoning bylaw should be clear about what you want and how an applicant can get there. And so the clearer the bylaw, the more likely it is that that someone's going to be able to get through an approval process, and the planning board is going to be able to administer an approval process that people can kind of anticipate what the outcome is.
Other thoughts or questions?
Sure, let me jump in real quick.
Sure.
So we've heard all the bad stuff about our zoning bylaw. Can you name 3 good things about it? Things that you wouldn't change that seem to be working?
There's some reorganization needed, but I would say the overall structure of it is not as bad as I've seen in some other communities. So, I mean, you have a structure that I think you can kind of work with and clean up as opposed to having to start from scratch. So that's one thing that I can think of. It's not uniformly unclear. I mean, I'm working on one right now in New Hampshire that's giving us a heart attack, but there's aspects of it that I think are okay. It's not a bad bylaw. It's a bylaw that needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be modernized, and it needs to kind of live in the real world of today. I think those are our comments, but I don't want to leave you with the impression that it's a bad bylaw. I understand that where we come from, a town hires us to say, do a zoning diagnostic and look at the following things. Well, we're going to look at those things, and some of those things need to be updated, and that's the best I can tell you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you for the presentation. It was definitely eye-opening and thorough.
Oh, well, it's been a fun project. I have to tell you, we have enjoyed working with your staff. We enjoyed talking to people. We interviewed folks, different users of the bylaw and so forth early on, and learned a lot from people. I think doing a zoning rewrite is a humbling experience for a consultant, because you may think when you read it that you kind of get everything that needs to be done, and it's all very clear. And then you talk to people and you find out that there's just some way that something's being administered that if you didn't ask that person who really knew the zoning bylaw on the user side, you wouldn't have seen it. So we always like to talk to people, and we got a lot of very helpful information from former applicants, from board members, from staff. It's just been a very gratifying project.
I guess one question I'm thinking of now is, do you have any, out of the 351 in the state, any model examples of things that have taken some of these recommendations or have made certain distinctions clearer?
Someone just asked me the same question the other day. I mean, there are some bylaws in Massachusetts that I think are well done. There are some that have great ideas in them, but they're probably wouldn't be appropriate for East Longmeadow. But Andover recently rewrote their zoning bylaw, kind of a soup to nuts, and the site plan bylaw in Andover, I think, is really good. I think some of their housing regulations are pretty good. North Andover has a pretty good, Acton comes to mind. Acton actually has done a nice job with thinking about mixed-use villages and sort of village residential zoning. So you have like a village center, and then you have like a higher density of housing around it, and then lower density kind of in the outlying areas. And the thought that was put into that zoning in terms of design standards, I think is pretty good.
Great, thank you for the examples.
No problem. I'll probably think of 3 more as soon as I get off Zoom. I'm going to be embarrassed that I didn't think of them.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, folks. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay. So the last thing was action items. As of now, I don't have anything on the docket for what would have been our April 28th meeting. So at this point, I'm thinking of canceling that meeting. If anything really was an emergency, we do have the special meetings with the Financial Oversight Committee, but otherwise, I'm sure we could wait until May 12th for something else. And then on May 12th, we will start the budget public hearing process. Then the only other thing I have would be, it would be time for us to start thinking about the town manager review process again, since it seems like we just did it, but it's almost the end of the fiscal year.
Be kind, Marilyn.
Final.
Is there anything else?
Want to add in
I know you.
general bylaw?
Oh, yes. Forgot to write that one down.
I will finalize that tomorrow and send it out.
Sounds good.
What'd you say, Rob?
General bylaws, the review, yes, we'll put in the last chapter 315, and I can send that out.
That would be for May 12th.
That would be May 12th. Yeah.
And it's probably outdated by now.
You're right.
Does anyone have anything else I'm missing for the next meeting? Sure, we'll come up.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, and we're at 8:12.